Alright, you. I know you're watching, because you've watched most of my videos every time they come out. Or not most, I should say, you've watched a lot of my videos. You, the one returning viewer I have. Come on. Just give me my first subscriber after coming back. Come on. Oh, man. Anyways, back with more debunking, because why not?
Man says that the Big Bang happened, causing the universe to form over billions of years by naturalistic processes. Take my word for it. Whereas God says, I created the heavens and the earth.
Doesn't say, take my word for it. It's more like, the Big Bang happened, and the universe came to be what it is because of this mountain of evidence over here. Would you care to take a look at it instead of assuming that God created all of it?
The cage is
what is it? What I wanted. Oh, fuck, shit. Very funny. I love Legends of Adventurous. Go check them out.
The earth, when I spoke it all into existence, take my word for it. Again, we have a battle of two different authorities. I want to show you all a short clip that really exposes what's being taught in the classrooms today. And this is from a lecture given by Lawrence Cross. He's a militant atheist who used to teach at Arizona State University. Check this out.
But the amazing thing is that every atom in your body came from a star that exploded. And the atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand. It really is the most...
Okay, more like every single particle in your body came from a different star. More like it. But anyways.
Poetic thing I know about physics. You are all stardust. You couldn't be here if stars hadn't exploded, because the elements, the carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, iron, all the things that matter for evolution weren't created at the beginning of time. They're created in the nuclear furnaces of stars, and the only way they can get into your body is if the stars were kind enough to explode. So forget Jesus. The stars died so that you could be here today. Okay?
Which is, there's a little bit of hyperbole in there, but for the most part, fair.
Yeah, and you get to the applause from that, the so-called poetic thing that the stars died for you, forget Jesus. That's what's being taught in classrooms today. I want you all to also check out this clip from the recent Cosmos series. It was done by the famous astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. So check this out.
Our ancestors worshipped the sun. They were far from foolish. It makes good sense to revere the sun and stars because we are their children. The silicon in the rocks, the oxygen in the air, the carbon in our DNA, the iron in our skyscrapers, the silver in our jewelry were all made in stars billions of years ago. Our planet, our society, and we ourselves are stardust.
So there you go. Isn't that encouraging, right? According to these guys, we're all just a bunch of star stuff, stardust, right? And that's, again, what's being taught to the next generation today in these classrooms, that the stars died for you. Worship the sun. We're all stardust, so forget Jesus. But pause. Think about that. What happens to generations when they're being told these things over and over and over again? Think about the consequences, right? I mean, why bother caring about what happens to one bag of stardust? What happens when bags of stardust are getting bumped together? You guys see the inconsistency there? I mean, is it any wonder why this next generation is the most anxious and the most depressed generation we've ever seen? It's because he's
absolutely the fuck not. I'm not gonna let you sit here and go, oh, well, the reason why all of the young people are depressed and anxious now is because they're all atheists. No. You don't get to come in here and state that the cause of something entirely different is because of this one thing that you don't like. Because the reason why my generation, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha will most likely be in the future, and how And also millennials. The reason for all of that is because the world as it is now is in utter fucking chaos. And here in the US, the economy is going to shit. I will most likely never own a house. Like, most of my generation will most likely never own a house. And we're getting to the point where Gen Alpha might even not be able to own cars, because those are getting obscenely expensive too. So, like, the reason why Gen Z and millennials are so worse for wear is because previous generations did not do their part in bettering the world. In fact, they made it worse. In fact, this guy, not sure if he's Gen X or if he is a millennial or whatever, but I'd be willing to bet that he is one of the people who is completely ignoring the fact that maybe parts of his generation and parts of the generations before him completely fucked up the world. So no, you don't get to just go, hey, look at this awful, horrible thing. You know what that's caused by? Atheism, with absolutely no fucking evidence. Second thing is theists, specifically young earth creationists, love to go on and on about how in an atheistic worldview nothing really matters. But if you care to notice, most atheists don't actually share that viewpoint. Now, obviously, there are going to be a few nihilists who go, nothing matters, like, in a fucking emo phase. But I'm just gonna, because I hear this so much. And I'd like to point out that the two people he just mentioned were like, look at the majesty of how we're from exploding stars, and they see so much reason for living in that. And then he comes in here and is like, oh, well, bags of stardust and shit like that. Like, the only reason young earth creationists say that is because young earth creationists say that, if that makes sense. It is one of the biggest misconceptions about atheism ever. And they just say it like it's fact.
These pagan beliefs here really give no real meaning and no real purpose. Y'all see the issue there? And so,
purpose in life. You can give yourself purpose in life. Purpose in life is subjective. That is why you have power over it. Because your meaning of life is entirely up to you. You don't have to pick God or atheism or whatever. You can pick whatever you want to give your life purpose. And they come in here and say there's no way that you can have purpose in your life unless you worship a god. I was atheist a few months ago, and I had purpose in my life. I am no longer atheist because I have experienced personal things that have led me to believe that Freya is real. I do not have concrete proof of that. But I'm also not going to go around saying that everybody else is wrong because they don't worship Freya. Because I don't believe in anything I haven't experienced for myself or have a good reason in believing. I don't believe in any of the other Norse mythology. Only Freya, because I believe that Freya manifested herself to me. And I know that sounds batshit fucking crazy, but I'm also not telling you that you're awful and a terrible person and you have no meaning in your life because you don't worship my God, my goddess. So that is why I continue to do these videos, because I want people to feel comfortable with their own religion or atheism. And if you're agnostic, that's fine. When I was an atheist, I was an agnostic atheist. Because at the end of the day, it's not provable or disprovable.
Let's go ahead and now talk about how the universe came into existence. Let's talk about that question here. So what we're going to do in this presentation today is we're going to look at two different opposing explanations, right? We're going to look at the foundation.
I would like to make clear that secular and atheist are not synonyms. Just before we get into this.
In the battle of two different authorities. A conflict between two different starting assumptions that says how the universe...
No. No. You don't get to just call a secular... You don't get to just say that both start with an assumption. Because a secular worldview, again, is not... It's not... I am a secularist, and I am a theist. So I want to make that clear. Secularism is not atheism. Secularism is just believing that that religion and government should be separate. And I wholeheartedly believe that. Because the thing is that Christians would love for their religion to be deeply tied to the government. But I want you to remember that there are a bunch of other religions that vehemently oppose Christianity. And I want you to just think about what would happen if any of those religions became deeply tied to the government. You know what would happen? Christians wouldn't be allowed to be in the country anymore. You wouldn't be allowed to be Christian. So I want to make that clear.
First came into existence. So we have God's infallible word on one side versus man's fallible word on the other side. Rock versus sand, on which we build our worldview, how we interpret the world around us. And both of these, by the way, have totally two different origin stories that cannot be mixed together. Or more specifically, it's really this, right? We have a battle of two different religions that are happening in our culture today. You see, boil it all down, it's either God's word or man's word, because...
Okay. No. You don't get to say battle between two religions. Because, like I said, you can be a secularist regardless of your religion. You can be an atheist secularist, which atheism is not a religion. I want to make that clear. Atheism is... because Buddhism is a religion. Buddhism does not posit a god. You can be an atheist and Buddhist, and you'd still believe in a religion. That is Buddhism. So the what Answers in Genesis likes to do a lot is equate two things that do not equal each other. They like to tie two words together that are not synonyms. And it's incredibly dishonest, or it would be if they knew that what these words actually meant, which I'm not entirely sure of. I think it's entirely possible that they just never bothered to learn what the definitions of these words are.
If it doesn't come from God, in one way or another, it comes from the mind of man. And that is called humanism, by the way. And so for those who reject God, what they do is they elevate man's word as ultimate above God's word, where man decides what is truth. Or to make things simpler,
the proof decides what is truth, jackass. Man is not deciding shit. The evidence is. Because right now he's taking a pot shot at just the scientific community as a whole. Specifically, the ones that go against young Earth creationism.
think about it this way, right? It's either God's word or not God's word, right? So it's not science versus religion. You guys ever heard that before? Science versus religion. Really, it's a battle of two different religions that we have here.
Bullshit. Absolute horseshit. Atheism is not a religion. Scientists, if they are like science is not a religion. I want to make that clear. Science is not a religion. Atheism is not a religion. That is not what they are.
God's word, not God's word, right? We're all religious. It's not a question of whether, but a question of which. What is our starting point? So when you guys see things like Big Bang, evolution, millions of years, I want you all to keep in the back of your mind that these...
I want you to listen to this man's tone. To this man's... his demeanor, his tone, when talking about science and atheism and secularism. And I want you to compare that to his tone when he talks about Christianity, young Earth creationism, and God. I want you to think and really ask yourself, is this the tone of somebody who would be open to changing his mind if proof of the contrary was shown?
These are subsets of humanism built on not God's word. In the same way that the creation, the fall, the flood are all subsets of Christianity based on God's word, right? Which are all beliefs about the past. Remember, science is...
Okay. This is bullshit. It seems... that's really odd. The order of the top 3 on both of these totem poles. And I want to make it clear because he keeps saying not God's word or man's word. This is not... I want to make it clear that millions of years, evolution, and the Big Bang are all proven to be true by the evidence. Not not man's word, but by the evidence. And I'd like to point out that there is absolutely no proof that the Bible is God's word. There's absolutely no proof of that. And the only thing that says that the Bible is God's word is the Bible. See how that's circular? See how that's circular? How the only reason people think that the Bible is God's word is because it says in the Bible that it's God's word? There's no proof of that. Oh my God.
Is observable, testable, and repeatable. Question. Has anyone ever observed, tested, repeated the Big Bang evolution?
Okay, so I wanna specify this because observation does not just mean of the actual events that happened. It can mean observation of the aftermath, observation of the forces in play when that thing happened. It can mean observation of everything that came after the events. It can mean observation of everything that came before the events. And yes, it can mean observation of the events as they are happening. But observation is not strictly tied to observing the event in question. And I've said this a million times, I'm going to say it again. Seeing what happened after means we know means we know what happened. Observing what happened before means we know why it happened. And having both of those means we know how and what happened. And I want to make clear that just because we don't have one half of that puzzle does not mean we don't know the puzzle exists. And so let me...
Repeatable. Question. Has anyone ever... Remember, science is observable, testable, and repeatable.
Okay, testable and repeatable. We are able to also test the after effects, the things that happened prior, and what is actually happening. Just because we don't have half of that puzzle does not mean we don't know all that we can with the other half. And what was the last
Which
one?
are all beliefs about the past. Remember, science is observable, testable, and repeatable.
The reason why we will most likely never know exactly what or why, the reason why we will most likely never know what happened during the Big Bang, like exactly what happened and why, is because we will most likely never be able to repeat that event. But I want to make clear to you, the viewer, that once again, we have one half of the puzzle. We have one half of the puzzle. In fact, we can view what happened almost right after the Big Bang. Because, obviously, light has a set speed. And as such, the further we look out in space, the further back in time the specific object we're viewing, like the time in which that specific object was. And so if we look all the way out as far as we can see what happened right after the Big Bang. We have pictures of that. Literal pictures. Alright. Covered those three. Let's see what he has to say about it.
Well, question. Has anyone ever observed, tested, repeated the Big Bang, evolution, millions of years? Easy answer here. No, right?
Evolution? Yes. Millions of years? How the fuck are you supposed to recreate millions of years? In fact, how are you supposed to recreate the 6,000 years that the creationist timeline presents? How do you replicate that?
Because it's not science. It's a religious belief about the unknown.
God, I fucking hate these people. It's not a religion because we've done 2 out of the 3 things you mentioned. We have done 2 out of those 3 things. You absolute fucking Nimrod.
Observed past.
God.
Well, more specifically, it's really this. The basis for the Big Bang is actually the religion of what's called naturalism or materialism. It's a subset of human.
Ignore that. Okay. Clearly not a religion. For those of you who are listening, naturalism in philosophy, a theory that relates scientific god damn. A theory that relates scientific method to philosophy by affirming that all beings and events in the universe, whatever their inherent character may be, are natural. A theory. Naturalism is a theory. Now, he also said that he basically equated naturalism and materialism. Let's see what materialism is. Because something tells me that he's making a false equivalency. Materialism is a form of philosophy. Monism. What does that mean? What is monism? Monism attributes oneness or singleness to a concept such as to existence. Various kinds of monisms can be distinguished. So basically, like a part of something bigger, I guess. Can feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Is a form of philosophical. Oh god, I'm saying that wrong. Fuck, I hate this. Oh man, I'm not on my A game today. Which holds that matter is the fundamental substance in nature, and that all things, including mental states and consciousness, are results of material interactions of material things, according to philosophical. There we go, I got it right that time. Materialism, mind and consciousness are caused by physical processes such as neurochemistry of the human brain and nervous system, without which they cannot exist. Materialism directly contrasts with idealism, according to which consciousness is the fundamental substance of nature. So, not the same thing. Two not very different, but distinct things.
humanism here. So in fact, many people today
Also, both of which are not fucking religions.
they will equate this science with this religion here. And so for simplicity, when I say this, just think atheism, okay? And so simply put, this religion tries to explain everything only by natural law. So it rejects anything supernatural. So what we see today in the world is simply a result of time, chance, and the laws of nature acting on matter. That's really it. Or in the words of Carl Sagan, for those that don't,
I'd like to point out that all it takes is a supernatural thing operating through natural means to achieve literally anything that would also go along with both of these.
knowing him, he was the host of the famous show called The Cosmos. Neil deGrasse Tyson recently became the host of it. Here's what old Carl said. He said, the cosmos is all that there is or ever was or ever will be. And that's essentially at the core of this naturalistic worldview right here. In other words, nature and matter is all that exists, right? Which is not the science.
Okay, that is not what he said. What he meant by cosmos is essentially the universe. And you can't have time without space. Universe is the space. So you literally cannot have time without the universe. That's what he was saying, basically. You dumbass motherfucker.
Scientific statement, by the way, but that is a philosophical one. Which again also means that this naturalistic worldview rejects anything supernatural, including God's word here. So this is key, guys. So if you guys checked out, don't miss this, okay? This is so key. At the foundation here, the Big Bang is a secular worldview based on not God's word, meaning that it is a secular, anti-God religious belief about the history of the universe, right? It's based on the religion of naturalism.
It's not anti-God. Anti-God implies that it's purposefully there just to get in the face of God. No, it's just what we know based on the evidence. It's not my fault or the scientists' fault that your bullshit does not align with the evidence.
Which has already rejected God's word and his authority. And that alone, guys, that alone should give pause for any Christian to buying into the Big Bang today. But sadly, the Big Bang, again, is so popular, and it's just not just secular circles today, but it's really very popular in many Christian circles today too, right? I mean, just about every major church you go to, you're probably going to find at least one Christian that does buy into the Big Bang. Why? Well, because so many Christians believe that if really smart scientists say it's true, then it must be true, right? In other words, what fallible...
Okay. Yes, the masses don't really have the ability to test most of the things that scientists are testing. And most of the time, yes, the regular person will just have to listen to the scientific authority. But there are things that you can test on your own. As long as you do them in the proper way, there are things that you can test. But I'd like to point out that if you had, like, most of the scientists just lying, there would be at least one person out there who got into, like, who went to college, and actually believes that all the scientific evidence is true, and if all of it was lies, wouldn't there be people saying that? People in the specific field that it pertains to, Wouldn't there actually be people in that field who object? Wouldn't there be people in that field who go and they're like, hey, that's bullshit. Everybody should know that's bullshit. Why do we not see that? Why are the only people who are saying that science is lies, why are the only people saying that the people who are not in the specific field that this shit pertains to? Why are all these creationists who are computer technology majors trying to say that evolution isn't real? Okay, if evolution isn't real, go get your fucking degree of this stuff and prove everyone wrong. Prove everyone wrong. Do that. I guarantee you, you will get a Nobel Prize if you actually succeed. The reason why science is what it is today is because people proved people wrong. I guarantee you, scientists are open to being proven wrong, because the only reason we have all of the shit that we have today is because science was proved wrong by science time and time again to perfect the knowledge that science gives.
Men say is what's true. Y'all see the issue there? You know, trust me, bro, I'm a scientist, that whole saying. In other words, what the
God, this dude is such a smug bastard.
scientist is really saying is this: I'm the authority. Now, don't get me wrong, right? We can't.
Yeah, because the person saying that has actually gone and learned what they needed to learn to be an authority figure on the topic. How did that not... There we go. Oh, and my fucking audio is gone. Give me a second. Oh, yay, the random glitch is back. Does this work? No. Well, so much for that. I wanted to end it soon anyway. Yeah, to that one guy out there, the one guy who keeps coming back, can you please give me my first subscriber? I don't care if any of the first-time viewers actually subscribe. I don't mind it. If you don't like the content, don't subscribe. I don't care. But, dude, you've been coming back since... Oh, man. You may have been the first one to come back. I don't know. I don't know because you haven't subscribed. Or maybe I won't be able to know that even when you subscribe. I'm not sure.